Hey, welcome back. So we've gotten through two of the three big downloads and installations that we have to get through in order to get to the fun stuff where we're writing code and getting our hands dirty. So the last one is to download the AdventureWorks sample database that is provided by Microsoft. So what we need to know about this is that it is an example database pertaining to a fictitious company called AdventureWorks that's meant to simulate the types of data that you're going to see in the wild, that you would see working as a data analyst for a large company, even a smaller company. So while the data may not be real, the patterns and the data structures that you see are very similar to things that you'll see in the real world. So to get to that sample database, I just Googled download AdventureWorks sample database, and the first link that comes up is from Microsoft, so I click that. And if you scroll down, you'll see that there are a number of files available to download with this funny little extension .bak. Now, .bak means that the file is a backup file. So that can be used to restore a database, a backup essentially of a database, to a database server. So what we're going to do is take that file and use it to restore that AdventureWorks database on our database server. So you'll see that these .bak files are organized under three different column headings, and one is OLTP and the second is data warehouse. So these represent different ways of structuring data within a database. They're both somewhat common, but OLTP is the most common. It's probably what you're going to be working with most of the time on the job. So we're going to stick with the database that's formatted that way. And since we've already installed the most recent version of SQL Server Express, SQL Server Express 2019, we're going to use the most recent version of AdventureWorks. So I'll click that download link to begin. All right, it looks like our file has downloaded. But instead of clicking Open File like we did previously, instead, we're going to click these three dots to the right of the file name, and we're going to click Show in Folder. And that will show us the location where that file was downloaded, because we actually want to move it to a special folder where our database server is stored on our file system. So here is where the .bak file landed on my computer. Looks like I've downloaded it twice, but that's fine. We'll just use the first one here. And that's the file I want, but again, I want to move it to this special folder on the location on my computer where our database server is. So first, I'm going to right-click and copy, and then I'm going to navigate to the folder where the database server is stored on my computer. Now, typically that's going to be first under your C drive, and then under Program Files. Once you're under Program Files, you're going to want to find the folder for Microsoft SQL Server, and then SQL Express. Now, if by some chance you have multiple versions of SQL Server on your computer, you would probably see multiple folders for the different types of SQL Server on your computer, but most likely you've just installed SQL Express, so that'll be the only one. So we'll click that one. And then got to go through one more folder. And finally we see within that last folder, there is a folder called Backup. And remember, the extension of that file is .bak. It's a backup file. So we're going to finally go into the backup folder, right-click, and paste. So now we've got our backup file in the designated backup folder for our database server. So now the next step is to open SQL Server Management Studio, which I'm going to do by clicking the Start menu. And this time, instead of opening under Recently Added, although it is there, I'm actually going to type in the search box, SQL, and as soon as I type in SQL, well, there's SQL Server Management Studio. And while it's pulled up there, just to make things more convenient going forward, I'm going to right-click that and say Pin to Taskbar. So from now on, when we want to open it, we can just hover our mouse over the icon down here, click it, and it'll pop right up. So let's go ahead and open SQL Management Studio. and we will connect to the database server as before. All right, now that we're connected to the database, we want to locate that backup file that we saved in the backup folder and actually use that to restore the AdventureWorks database to our database server. So to do that, you want to click over here on the left under the Object Explorer where it says Databases, and then right-click and choose Restore Database. Now then a dialog box will pop up and it will prompt you to choose a source, database, or device. In this case, we're going to choose device. Now after you've selected device, you're going to want to go over to this little button with 3 dots on it and left-click that. And we'll have yet another dialog box pop up that asks you to select the backup media type. The choices are file and URL. Well, we have a .bak file, so we'll leave file selected. And then you'll want to click Add. And this is pretty cool. So SQL Management Studio is smart enough to look in that backup folder that we saved the .bak file to by default. So we'll go ahead and select that, click OK. And then we'll click OK one more time. And before we click OK a third time, you want to make sure that the box under Restore here is checked. So finally, we'll click OK again. And we see some green progress bars, which is generally a good sign. And it says Database AdventureWorks 2019 restored successfully. That is great news. We'll click OK. And now the moment of truth. We'll click the plus sign to the left of Databases, which will expand all the databases that are available for us to view on this database server. And there's AdventureWorks 2019. Now that we've confirmed that the AdventureWorks 2019 sample database has been restored successfully, we have everything in place that we'll need to begin writing code to interact with that database in the same way that you'll be writing code to interact with your company's database in your role as a data analyst or a data scientist. So congratulations on making it through all of the installations, because the fun stuff begins now. I'll see you in the next video.